Hello out there, and thanks for joining us. And we want to welcome you to Public Conscience on Radio, the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development. And Primorg is a civil society group with the mandate to work for good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. I'm Okiri Bonsuremi, and Adaobi Obeabumo is right here with me in the studios.
On Public Conscience on Radio, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of corruption stories reported by our partner media organizations and drawing citizens and government attention for democratic actions against it. We are supported by the MacArthur Foundation.
Today we continue with our focus on the COVID-19 funds in the hands of the government. We told you in the previous episodes that the huge funds available to government to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic are being expended without any accountability template known to the public.
And after so many attempts and efforts by some civil society groups to request and know about the funds and how they had been disbursed, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has come up with some guidelines on the management of the funds. Through the implementation of the guidelines, it is hoped that the funds will be expended judiciously in a transparent manner.
Now, under the guidelines, there is a bank account policy which allows the chairman of the Presidential Task Force, PTF, the discretion to designate bank accounts solely for the collection of funds and donations, as well as a specific bank account that receipts are swept into for expenditure whose signatories, though appointed by the chairman, PTF, shall not have approving powers. Reconciliations of the accounts and the books shall be submitted to the chairman monthly, on a monthly basis.
Also, there is the expenditure and payments provision, which requires payments to vendors, suppliers, and ad hoc staff to be mainly by bank transfer after they have made supplies or rendered service in order to leave trails.
The guideline says the responsibility for procurement rests on the shoulders of the chairman, PTF, and all procurements are required to adhere to the provisions of Section 43 of the Public Procurement Act 2007 in the emergency period. Additionally, all post-COVID procurements must comply fully with the comprehensive provisions of the procurement law. The guidelines also require all cash advances to be subjected to the financial regulations and the public service rules.
How open will the adherence to the guidelines be? And how will the ICPC monitor to ensure that the guidelines are respected? Will the public have access to the monthly returns available in the chairman's office for the purpose of monitoring?
I will be talking to the Deputy Director, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, Kolawole Oluwadare. He is in Lagos. He will be joining us on phone. And in the studios with us is Hamza Lawa of the Connected Development Code, a group which runs the Follow the Money initiative. I want to appreciate you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And remember that you can follow us on our social media platforms at Official Primorg. Primorg is spelled P-R-I-M-O-R-G. And we are streaming live on Facebook at Official Primorg. You can watch our videos on Primorg TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. And the WhatsApp line to send your message is 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. This number is for messages only. You can begin to send your messages now.
Well, we told you earlier that we have the Deputy Director, SERAP, in Lagos, will be joining us via the phone. Let me welcome the Deputy Director, SERAP, Kolawole Oluwadare, to the program. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's interact with Hamza Lawa so that you can also hear him. Hamza Lawa is of Connected Development.
So Hamza, we'll start with you. What is the need for the accountability in the disbursement of the COVID-19 funds?
Of course, we can never overemphasize the need for accountability. Because when you look at this COVID-19 intervention, and the fact that currently we're experiencing a health crisis, a humanitarian crisis, an economic crisis, and also a security crisis. And of course, we know that CACOVID, which is the private sector coalition, have confirmed over 25 billion. The federal government have not come out publicly to give specific breakdown, but Follow the Money have mapped over 80 billion from public sources of donations that have been given to the federal government. And we've also had Edo State saying they've spent over 1 billion, or your state has spent over 1 billion. The FCT administration have not come out to tell us how much they've spent, but we've also mapped how much they've gotten, both in kind contribution and in cash. So for us, it's important that as much as government is getting this income, it's important to also document how they disburse the money, but most importantly, what is the value of this money, and if this money is actually delivering on services, because right now, you know, COVID-19 has impacted people, and particularly poor households at the grassroots. So for us, it's ensuring that, you know, we provide that oversight while engaging government and ensuring accountability and transparency.
Oh, okay. I know you've gone through I want to believe you've gone through the ICPC guideline.
Yes, both the ICPC guideline and the Bureau of Public Procurement guidelines.
Do you think these guidelines are workable?
Yes, I think they're workable, but then again, when you look at the guideline, as much as I feel strongly that they're workable, I still see a lot of gaps in this guideline. So when you scrutinize the guideline, there's still a lot of gaps in this guideline. And mind you, this guideline only look at resources accrued by the Presidential Task Force. It is very silent on the private sector coalition donations. So again, that's a lot of lacuna. So what this also means is, even if the private sector wants to give government the money to administer, I'm sure government people will say, since there's a guideline that we have to adhere to, it's better we administer this money through the private sector. And mind you, in as much as this money was mobilized by private sector, but it was mobilized on behalf of the Nigerian people. So this money actually belongs to the Nigerian people, in as much as we got this money from private individual and institution. But if you look at the Freedom of Information Act, it's very clear. It's clearly stated that as much as you are providing service for public good and public interest, you're also bound to respond to Freedom of Information requests from activists and citizens groups like us, like CrimeOrg, Connected Development, and SERAP. So what this means is, we are supposed to have access to the CACOVID accounts,
Yes.
where they would provide information on income and expenditure, and most importantly on impact on service delivery.
Okay, let's get to Oluwadari, and I would just want to ask him first to react to the emergence of the guidelines itself. When you saw the guidelines, or have you even seen the guidelines, or just snippets of the guidelines, what's your reaction to it?
Are you talking about the ICPC guidelines or the procurement guidelines? I want to believe you're talking about the ICPC guidelines and the advisory issues.
Yes.
Which, as it were, we are yet to see a copy of the guidelines. And I've checked the ICPC website separately. What is available in the press release on the guidelines? And I was seeing yesterday engaging some officers of the ICPC. So, as it were, what we have is a press release of what the guideline contains. We don't have the guideline as it is, section by section, provision by provision, which will really give us the enablement to identify whether it's holistic or whether there are gaps in the chain. But from what we've seen in the press release of the guidelines, it's good and it's legislative. But again, it's going to literally will say that talking about the ICPC guidelines, there are two that I've seen so far. That is a general one that speaks to BTF spending, expenditure control, and that the advisory which appears to be more general. And we know that in this kind of instance that we have, given our past experience, the avenues for any wrongdoing will possibly lie more in procurement. So that speaks to whether the guidelines cover enough of the services of procurement to guide the public officers. I don't think that it's not enough about that. And that is why the PTA, the Bureau of Public Procurement Guidelines, come into play. And I really don't think that also covers, it's a good document actually. It doesn't cover the field as far as section 43 of the public procurement as is concerned. So as the guidelines, well, it's something good, it's a good initiative. But as to its applicability, I think it's something we are yet to see. And when you look at the three guidelines that regulate the presidential task force, I think that the legality of the PTF as it were, and the ability to make direct procurement is something I think should be examined. And that is not covered by the ICPC guidelines. And of course, I don't think that's different from the ICPC.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, just you have delved into it, but I will still need to ask you so that you can situate it. Do you have fears over the guidelines, even though you have not seen the details, and even when you see the details, the implementation, do you have fears?
Yes, of course. And as I've been looking at the basic framework in the guidelines, it looks good, it's superb. And the DPP guidelines that we think, so that we are still in details, we think that the exact guidelines is good. But with implementation, we have seen over the years that Nigeria, we are where we are not for a depth of laws or legal framework of policy. I think we have enough. They are not perfect as well, but we have enough. But are they being followed procedurally? I doubt it. And so the imminent there is not whether the guidelines are robust enough as well, but whether even the little that is there is to follow. And then that brings the question, for instance, when you look at the specific guidelines about procurement, what happens to procurement that may be deemed emergency but are already part of budgetary allocations, for instance? So who is looking at that? Some things will have been budgeted by NDA, and then some people may slip it under emergency procurement. And even the rules for emergency procurement are not clear, but the guidelines are active. And I want to believe, before now, as part of the legal, as part of the statutory duties of the PDP, each NDA should have at least something that looks like emergency guideline procurement that it should have made before now. Which of course comes under this one that they made. They should, it's something they should have. Because emergency, that's why it's called emergency. You don't know when it's going to happen, but you know it's likely to happen.
Let us take a look at the intendment. We know how the public service works. And from the snippets of what we have seen from the ICPC guidelines, we see an emphasis on the fallback to the Procurement Act. How much reliability, because we have seen this Procurement Act in the space and we have continued to see problems. Is there anything going to be different actually?
Like I said, it's just about implementation. The DPR is not perfect as a document. But even the DPR as it is before now, was it followed pre-pandemic? If it wasn't followed substantially pre-pandemic, what makes us think that in a pandemic it's going to the emergency provision of section for the bill will follow? And that is where the problem is. Of course, in the pandemic there are various issues, and I think that the UNODC-led initiative that is going on in this regard, trying to do a risk register as to the various areas of procurement in a pandemic that can be highlighted, rating it from high to low, so that government can be advised accordingly. And for what we've seen so far, even though the process is getting completed, there are really huge risks as to procurement in a pandemic. Whether pretender, but when I say tender, it need not be the process that would apply without a pandemic. Of course, there are things that will happen in a pandemic that will involve a form tender, which even brings the question: who determines what is emergency procurement, even under this pandemic?
Yeah.
That it's not everything that is consistent that will emergency.
Yeah, everything will be emergency now. Now, before we let you go, I have seen the snippet of the SEPC guideline. It says reports shall be done and forwarded to the PTF chairman on a monthly basis. Is it possible for the civil society groups and those who are monitoring, SERAP, Follow the Money, Primog, and all the other organizations that are working in this regard to insist on a copy of this monthly report?
In fact, that is one of the things I've noticed in the ICPC guidelines, the one that was issued basics, which is the specific to PTF. It concentrates too much power on the chairman. That's the chairman of the PTF. And as it were, yes, the PTF was duly considered by the president. But what are the confines of his power when it comes to procurement, for instance, under the PPA, under the procurement act?
They appear to have all the powers actually.
They have all the powers. I've seen it in the century of guidelines too. And the guidelines did mention, I must say this, I've seen it from the first week, the rule of procuring agencies, particularly PTF, to make sure that these things, their accountability are trying to initiate this and then to make it available to the people and the public, which is very important. So it is not enough that some it is accountable to someone within the system, in this case the chairman of the PTF, but what about accountable principally to the people and the CSOs? I think that's more than the other channel, and that there need to be more interventions from civil society organizations and individuals to have access to information, and then that will be subject to the Freedom of Information Act as well.
Thank you very much, Larry. He's a Deputy Director of SERAP in Lagos, joining us on the program. Of course, we will also be taking action on the guidelines released by the BPE. Of course, that also it actually appear to be more elaborate. We'll be taking a look at it, and when ICPC joins us next week, we also want to call you in to have your own intervention. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Father.
Okay, let's bring it back to Hans and Lawal in the studio. I know Follow the Money and some other CSOs have been clamoring for accountability templates. Do you think the guideline by the ICPC meets these accountability templates?
I would say that it's just the tip of the iceberg, because guideline, when you look at the guideline, it only talks about procurement.
Yes.
for BPA. And when you look at that of ICPC, by the way, it's a press statement, so it's not a document where you can actually dive in and look at provisions that was specific there. Accountability template is supposed to come from the minister or the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
Because what this also shows you is there's lack of coordination and information sharing. Why are we having different government MDAs provide guidelines when we can have one robust guideline, one single document
That will have a regime of financial responsibilities.
Yes. Why can't we have a very strong policy instrument that also limits the power of the president, the chair of the presidential task force, and also shows separation of power? Because right now we're not even seeing roles of the National Assembly, as it were, because they are the ones that are meant to hold the executive accountable.
Yes, because they are the ones that appropriates, and they are supposed to oversight.
Yes, so right now what we're seeing is just a statement of all these guidelines. So again, this is also an opportunity for the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Finance, Budget and Planning, to come up with a solid accountability framework. We know the minister committed the other time when she engaged and said we're going to provide an accountability framework. And our worries then was they were already disbursing money, they were already procuring.
Yes.
Why not have it? Why can't we have it now? And we committed and said we can even help you do a draft that you can make implement.
And they never responded to it.
They never responded to it. So this guideline does not provide a regime of accountability at all. It doesn't.
Now we are in a situation where we are trying to look at a regime of guidelines. The civil society organizations, and I know Follow the Money has been following it so seriously. The last time you appeared on our program, we clocked about 87.02 billion that you have tracked. I don't know if we are still there now.
I was still there. Because recently we've not had any publicly available data on donations that have been made. So we're still there. Even the CACOVID resources is at 27.16 billion. So yes, we're still at our data on what we have in terms of income to the government.
Now, when we are talking about guidelines, we have the procurement team, we have the ICPC coming up with guidelines. Monies are being spent. What is guiding the monies that are being spent, even before we begin to take a look at the guideline? Has the ICPC itself set up a template to make sure that these guidelines are followed? shouldn't the ICPC, in addition to bringing out the detailed guidelines, set up a template to say, look, we will also be sure that every month, as we have recommended, we also issue our report to say this is what we have gotten, so that the public can be carried along.
I'm aware that the ICPC set up what they call a monitoring team around COVID-19, and this was set up around April 9th, and they did this in collaboration with the Presidential Task Force in ensuring transparent utilization of funds, donation, and receipt to mobilize COVID-19 in the country. But so far, and if you look, I said 19th of April. So this is over a month.
Yes.
So if really they've had this monitoring team and they're engaging in the PTF, where is the report for the past 30 days? Because ideally you should have, if they talk about monthly reportage.
Yeah, we have about 6 days to make it 30 years.
You know, so
still within a month.
Yes, still within a month. So for us, you know, and when ICPC set up this monitoring team, who are the civil society representative in this monitoring team? Because again, as government MDAs, for every setup that you do, they must be representative of the people. And of course, we know the unionists. So who are this representative? Because if you want to have efficiency and get concrete feedback and input from the people, you must have their own representative in all of this setup.
You expect the ICPC, they have a monitoring team, they have what look like a guideline, some snippets of the guideline that are not as detailed as we want to have. Do you think they are going to be broader in it? They are going to come up with a real definitive guidelines to put all these things in, have representation, ask for the reports from, for instance, the report that is meant for the chairman monthly, who has access to it? Are we going to be filing FOI to be able to get it? The way we have always been doing. Do you think ICPC is going to come up in a more robust manner in the coming days?
I want to be optimistic that this conversation would also inform them and maybe help them close this gap. Because again, I think as government, they always also need constructive feedback and need all these ideas to inform them. But as much as we're also, and you know, when we talk about corruption, the most important part is preventive measures. And that's what we're trying to do.
And that's what ICPC, the ICPC laws actually dwell more on preventive.
So that tomorrow after COVID-19, we won't start hearing stories, you know, that like they say, stories that touch. You know, so again, it's important at this point that both ICPC, also EFCC come up and work with the ministry.
Even code of conduct.
Yes. Because again, I know there's also, the Minister of Finance have given a directive to the Accountant General to also publish expenditures.
From the accounts.
But you know who will be our saving grace, and honestly speaking, is NFIU, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit.
Yeah.
Because all disbursement of government resources, they have a platform where they actually monitor, particularly if it's wired, except it's cash. Withdraw and cash.
The guideline
said it has to be transparent.
Yes, so the guideline made it very clear that there must be a trail, there must be a digital trail of payments.
Yes.
But then again, the guideline is silent on if you default, what will happen to you.
Yes.
So if
we go back to our existing laws, we could invite the EFCC to come to come in and do something.
But then we're talking about prevention.
Yes.
So if we're going to invite the EFCC after COVID-19, that means a lot of people that were meant to benefit from all of this intervention probably would have lost their lives.
Very unfortunate, we're always there, and that will be, maybe we need to begin to look at inviting the listener out there. The program is Public Conscience on radio. We have given you a line before to send in your messages. That's 090 22656167. That's the number to send in your message. Let's be very civil in the way we relate. We want to examine the issues of the COVID-19 funds. A guideline has been set up by the federal government through the ICPC. ICPC has set up some guidelines, and we are looking at examining the guidelines. Hello, thanks for joining us. Your name and where you are calling from? Thank you so much, Chideze. Go ahead, please.
What is it that the minister for women, for this humanitarian affairs, decided very difficult to agree to the opinions of the people. That it will be very difficult for her to share the truth to populace at home because there is no school data program in fact. It means that what can this man come to reality of life?
Have you taken your time, Chidozie, to look at the guidelines released by the ICPC? They say that guideline means that all money spent shall have a trade. They should not spend cash. They should spend money through checks, and reports should be made available to the chairman. Have you seen? Did you see anything wrong with it? Let's leave palliative now. We'll come to palliative. I'll be discussing it.
Okay. Yes. That is to go through checks is not a criteria or is not the end that there will be no corruption in the cycle. For me, that guideline doesn't make any sense to me. I've read it. Because that doesn't show accountability and transparency at the end of the day.
All right, thank you very much. Chidozie says it does not make so much sense to him talking about the guideline. Hello. Doesn't make so much sense. Hello. John, thank you so much. Go ahead. Tell us, what do you think about the need to get the presidential task force to spend money and make it public so that people know how they are spending the money?
My opinion is that first, they need to analyze the total money sum. So they have to let the public know. And the fact has supported the SECC guidelines of check so that the money will not be somehow taken. And secondly, hello?
Yeah, we are hearing you. Go ahead.
So, I want to even ask the ICPC and EFCC. They have been having of sentenced former governors and haven't heard of any of their chairman, the state accountant, because the government are not corrupt, the chairman and the accountant. That's not thank
Thank you so much. We'll be taking that one up maybe on certain other programs. I think the breakdown of this for those who want to call in, we're actually focusing on the COVID-19 funds. So far, we have 87.02 billion mobilized to work with this. A lot of procurement is going on already. We are buying a lot of PPEs. We are buying a lot of facilities. We are setting up isolation centers and a whole lot of things, but we do not have an accountability template in it. These are the things we are talking about. Hello, where are you calling from and what's your name?
My name is I'm calling you from Taco.
Okay, go ahead please.
Since I want to tell you that though I've not been, I don't take my time or waste my time to debate over Nigerian issue. Because I know that our leaders are not listening to the masses. They always go ahead and do what is in their mind. So setting up the organization to check the money that have been allocated for this COVID-19 of the thing. I don't think that it will still go the way that it used to be. The normal way that they used to spend the money, and they will not give us the accurate result of how to spend the money and how they go about with the money.
Why don't you have confidence in our government? If they set up a group and they say the ICPC says they want the money, why are you not having confidence in the system?
This is not the first time this has been done, and they have been doing their own thing the way they feel like. They don't always listen to the masses in the country. They always do their own things the way it pleases them. So if you talk of the issue of the money, they have been spending the money here and there in the country. And we are not going to see the impact in the poor market life in the country.
So what do we do?
So what we do is we still use them the same way they are. Every on the time that they are done with the office, they will leave the office for other people to come in. And look at the issue of the school feeding program right now going on.
All right, let's leave the school feeding. Sometimes when I hear this from Nigerians, I'm not really very, very happy. They will say we are giving up Is it not 2 years? They will come to government and they will go. Let us just give up and we'll just wait. Now, our input in it is also very important. I think we should not lose the entire gamut of the hope that we have. Hello. Your name, where are you calling from, sir?
My name is David. I'm calling you from the day.
Okay, David, go ahead, please.
What is commended should be commended. I want to commend the government for the ICPC in particular for drafting a guideline. It's good for them to draft a guideline. Whether it is right or if there is a lacuna, like one of your guests said, is not the major issue for now, but they've at least taken a step to draft a guideline. But my concern is, it's been disbursement, just like you mentioned, your concern, it's been disbursement before the drafting of this guideline. Now, and we also heard that the Office of the Accountant General was engulfed. Now, how are we going to say that? How are we going to solve that some information we are not left in that, and at the end, we will now be going back to the point of corruption again? So that is one aspect for me. Are you with me, sir?
Yeah, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Yes. Now, so what I want to suggest is this: let these bodies, like your guest in the Solid Money and SERAP, let independent bodies who are professionals in this, let them come in and help the government. Because now it's 10 billion and the impact is not well done across board. The impact is not well done too. And they are going to continue to spend this billion without total impact. So let them bring in people like you and other well-being Nigerians and we come in and help. These things can be helped and impact can be felt. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The civil society people should be provided space. That is his suggestion. Let's take this call. Hello. Yeah, you are on to Kiss FM and it is Public Conscience on radio.
Calling from party, Imam Abdulwati from party.
Yeah, what's your name, please?
Imam Abdulwati from party.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead.
My observation is this: there is problem with our moral system. Okay, if at all we say there is a template from ICPC putting in place so that to guide how the money is being monitored and spent, you understand? If there is no problem with the moral system in Nigeria as a country, as a society, I don't think we have to put so much effort in order to monitor the way the money is being spent. But there is a problem with our moral system. Because morally, you should know that what is given to you, you should tell it in a good way and the way you are supposed to do it. Putting in place this template, I don't think it's going to work because people so out of pocket, they are going to spend the money the way they want it. It's not effort. But I know.
Thank you so much. And maybe the other question that should naturally arise, Hamza, in following what the last caller has just said is, you have ICPC coming up with its own template guideline. You have the Bureau of Public Procurement coming up with its own template. You have the police doing their own monitoring. You have CSO. He says the moral things, the moral decadence that is arising is making all these things to arise. You have one setting up guideline, another one setting up guideline, just for the same cause. Are we not duplicating actually? Shouldn't all the NFIU, ICPC, EFCC, all of them, like you said, let there be a uniform template that will be given? Everybody will monitor from their own point of view.
The last caller actually hit a chord in me, and what he said was really valid. If we actually do things the right way, we won't be going about, or MDs won't be coming up with guidelines. Yes, if we actually do things the right way. And if you listen to caller say we have all the laws, all the framework in Nigeria, but implementing it has always been a problem. So if we actually implement our laws the way we should have, then there will be no need for all this guidelines.
In fact, some of us will not have any job because we'll just see that the thing is flowing naturally. Look at all the effort that Follow the Money is putting into monitoring to be sure that money is spent judiciously. Look at all the efforts in the Bureau of Public Procurement setting up guidelines, ICPC setting up guidelines, man-hour and funds, just to monitor. As if we are like, you don't even understand it. So, in the light of this, the citizens, some of them have said they have lost hope in the entire thing, that they don't believe it is going to work. As organizations, those who are working, can we really on our own say these things will work emphatically? Can we say they will work?
Yes, the only thing that keeps humanity going is hope, and for us we must keep showing and giving that hope. Public conscience on radio, if you don't have programs like this, then how a lot of people would not get real-time information. This is also giving hope and bridging that information gap, where people can also see that, okay, if people like you know Primorg is doing this, how can we support them so that this can be escalated? Because that's what we need right now. Nigeria has to work, because we have nowhere to run to. Even if we migrate out of Nigeria, you know, we'll be second-class citizens. This is the only place where we're first-class citizens. So we have to make it work.
Your name and where are you calling from, sir?
My name is Patrick. I am calling from Lupe.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
And my little contribution is this. Those guidelines cannot work. The priority is this. It is not a law. It doesn't have a binding force. It doesn't have a binding force at all. And looking at the guideline defines what is an offense by any violator of that guideline. And because at early hour of this COVID-19, some of this rumor going about news about 1 billion was spread by SMS. How do you account for that? How do you connect that to the guideline? That guideline does not have a binding force. It is not a law. And ICPC, that was the thing that they had, cannot come up with another law. It's not possible. So that guideline is just a mere formality. It's a formality to make it with the money.
Is it not to is the guideline not to complement the existing laws? I mean, the guidelines must
You cannot call guideline a law. You can
He has made a very valid point, Hamza.
Yes, actually, because if people want to test this guideline, is to take it to the judiciary.
Yes.
You know we.
So what are you going to tell?
So when you take it to judiciary, people can actually argue in front of a judge and say that this has no constitutional backing.
No consequential laws that was made to say if you break this is what you
because
have to
it
do.
was not passed by parliament. So why would executive want to enforce a law on us that was not passed by parliament and signed by the president? This is just a guideline. That's a valid contribution.
So maybe we begin. Are we going to be taking it back? Let's listen to the next caller. Hello. Okay, go ahead, sir.
The problem we have with the government is that they keep on doing the same thing in different ways. The way it is, the foundation is not strong because the money is messed up. And when you go to the account, you won't even see any correct in there. But the power is so much of the summer of the PCF. And so, because one power like that will go the same time like this, won't get correct accounts from them. That's our contribution.
Thank you very much. I think Hamza made that point earlier that the powers appear too concentrated. In fact, it was also made by Kola or Luadare that the powers concentrate too much on the chairman. Hello, the concentration of the powers. I actually thought the chairman is like hold him responsible. He will be the one to be the one that if you concentrate the powers on and just like an executive power on the president, with the inability of the chairman to do reconciliation, he's not the one that would. In fact, it is after they have been done, he has given directive that the report get back to him. Another thing is, shouldn't the report have gone to somewhere else rather than back to the chairman who initiated the process itself? Because
again, it shows that there's no effective check and balance.
Yes.
So who checks the
chairman?
Who checks his excesses? It is worrisome.
Because everything, the chairman initiates everything and then the process come back and they report to him. So, hello.
My name is Eniola. I'm calling from Abidjan.
Eniola, go ahead, please.
I want to say that I don't see anything wrong with the guideline. guidelines are made for citizens and laws. But my own problem at the moment is that as regards the guidelines being set or prepared by the ICPC, the ICPC should also prepare guidelines for their staff, for themselves, that they will be honest to ensure that that guideline is strictly adhered to. Because it's one thing for you to prepare guidelines for people to monitor somebody, and you that you are going to monitor it and you not compromise. That is the key thing. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Of course, that takes the ball to the monitoring team, Hamza, because the monitoring team is the last caller is saying, are we sure that even the ESCPC themselves, they are equipped? And how are we sure that they will do the job that they ought to do? Because they have set up a monitoring team to follow up on some of these things.
I agree, because so if you look at it, Nigeria was never prepared for this kind of pandemic. Of course, Nigeria and the world at large. And it means that you have to deploy digital tools.
Yes.
Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the resources? Do we have the technical skills? You know why it's easy for Follow the Money to deploy this is years ago we've already tested a lot of all these tools that we have to work remotely. That's why it was easy for us to quickly start following COVID-19 money. So yes, does ICPC also have that skill?
If we say the guideline is not a law, and the guideline is not supposed to complement laws, there are laws, but maybe there are some gray areas. This guideline is to enable us to obey existing laws that guard against infractions in public service.
So if you think that you need something to complement the law, approach the National Assembly. And the National Assembly is currently sitting. So just go to them with an addendum, and then they debate, pass it, send it to the president, he signs it. And we all know this is an emergency situation. So if you approach the National Assembly and you mobilize Nigerian people, they will support the campaign and get the representative of their constituents to pass a law that would ensure that it's holistic and it addresses today's needs. If they're saying that they have to give a guideline, then why is the National Assembly trying to now force a law on us called the Infectious Bill?
Yes.
So why not take the ICPC law back to the National Assembly and get the needed amendment? So you see that we're putting effort where we don't even need effort, and where we need to invest effort and time, we're relegating it. So why not take the ICPC law back to the National Assembly?
Now, I just something just reaching into my head as we were talking. I was just imagining, you say the government ought to maybe quickly because of this emergency. Are we not having too many laws already that will probably take care of some of these things?
We have so many laws.
Yes.
Again, Nigeria has some of the best laws.
Yeah.
But when you look at
so it boils down to implementation.
It boils down to when you look at implementation.
But instead of having different guidelines, one from BPE, another one from ICPC, shouldn't they come together and have a single document?
Again, it shows this lack of coordination, lack of information sharing.
Everybody just trying to do something.
It takes nothing for the financial coordinating body, which is the Ministry of Finance, Budget and Planning, to have all these other MDs and have a virtual meeting and agree on input.
Or the body of it, one single an all-time guideline. We don't need to say COVID-19 is here, we have a guideline. Then another incident comes, we have a guideline. Maybe there's a disaster somewhere like the flooding we saw, there's a guideline. Why don't you have just the Ministry of Finance come up and say, look, in the event of emergencies or
this is
circumstances.
And I think this is even an opportunity to review our existing laws that also integrate emergency spending, emergency mobilization, and budgeting, and also, of course, emergency procurement. Why can't we even have all these people come together and say, let's even review our existing law and bring civil society and the media. Let's review them and let's take back something holistic back to the National Assembly. Because we cannot jump the National Assembly. The executive cannot make laws, implement laws, and then hold themselves to account. No, that's why we have the judiciary, we have the legislatures, and then we have the executive.
All right, let's take this last call. Hello.
My name is Mazike.
Thank you, Mazi. Go ahead, please.
The position that the guideline is not enforceable is not actually the true position. Where the body, statutory body, for example, the ICPC, makes a law, or rather makes a guideline pursuant to the act that establishes it, or that empowers it to act. The guideline is enforceable before a court. What they have all actually done is to say, okay, this is an emergency situation. This is what you will do to enable us to do our work. If they did not have a place to stand, as we say in law, you cannot create something and expect it to be there. It will collapse. So the law that establishes the ICPC, that is the ICPC Act 2000 and as amended, is where the ICPC as a law enforcement agent, if you like, has stood to give the guidelines which all the PTF members and other organizations working in conjunction with them at this period of emergency must follow. So the person that I wouldn't know where the person got the idea that the guideline will not be enforceable. Well, I will say the person disobey it and then see what will happen. The other thing is, we already have Procurement Act. That Procurement Act will be followed strictly if the guidelines are not followed. Of course, the ICPC Act establishes the ICPC as an organization, and corrupt practices that are likely to be infringed or committed by these persons that they've issued guidelines to. In other words, even if those things are not stated in the infractions are not stated in the ICPC Act, they can call on the Procurement Act and say, this is the law for you, and we issued guidelines for you, I'm repeating myself now, to enable us monitor what you have done.
We just have to let you go now because our time is up. But you have really put the legal thing into it. Hamza, it does appear the fears are from those of us who probably are not legal minds. You say they can be tied back to existing laws, tied back to the act of the SEPC, and in fact all the relevant laws. That the guideline is just to put the torchlight and say, look, mind you, this is what you are going to follow. If you don't follow this, you will be doing something wrong against existing laws.
But then again, this is only again we can still test this.
Exactly.
We can take it to the front of my Lord, and then we can
test it out.
You know, and also get a ruling on it.
All right, Ada, we have to go now.
Please visit the news page of our website, news.primorg.org. That is news.primorg.org. For all the details of our reports and interviews, visit our website, primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg. And many thanks to the Deputy Director of Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, Kolawole Oluwadare, who joined us via phone from Lagos. And we want to appreciate you, Mr. Hamzat Lawal, Follow the Money Initiator.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Public Conscience on Radio is supported by the John T. and Catherine D. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more about MacArthur Foundation through their website, macfound.org. It is produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development.
Join us again next week for another interesting episode of Public Conscience on Radio. I am Adaobi Obiabumo.
And I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi. Want to enjoin you to stay safe and out of trouble.